In the heart of the wide, sun-drenched savanna, where acacia trees stood like lonely sentinels, lived a great and powerful lion. He was the king of all the animals, with a roar that could shake the leaves from the baobab trees and make the very ground tremble. His name was Simba, and every creature from the towering elephant to the smallest mongoose showed him great respect. They bowed when he passed, their heads low to the ground. They knew his strength was mighty. His muscles rippled under his golden coat like rivers flowing beneath the earth, a constant reminder of his power and his rule over the vast lands. Among all these animals lived a small but very clever hare named Zomo. Zomo was quick, not just with his feet, but also with his mind. His ears were long, and they twitched at every sound, catching secrets on the breeze. His nose wiggled, smelling stories in the dust. While other animals saw only the lion's fearsome teeth and sharp claws, Zomo saw something else. He saw the pride that puffed up the lion's chest, and the loneliness that sometimes flickered in the king's golden eyes. Zomo knew that even the strongest heart could have a weakness, a small hidden place that held a secret. He was not afraid, but he was always careful. One very hot afternoon, the savannah was quiet. The sun beat down, and most animals were resting in the shade, trying to escape the blistering heat. But King Simba was not resting. He was pacing back and forth near the waterhole, his tail lashing from side to side like an angry whip. He was hungry, and his hunger made him cross. He declared that no animal could drink from the waterhole until he had eaten his fill. The other animals watched from a distance, their throats dry and their hearts heavy with fear. They dared not challenge the king's command, for his anger was as hot as the midday sun. Zomo the hare watched from behind a thick bush, his whiskers twitching with thought. He saw the thirsty gazelles, the worried zebras, and the grumbling warthogs. This was not right. The waterhole belonged to everyone, a gift from the earth itself. It was not something for one animal to keep all to himself, not even a king. A plan began to form in Zomo's clever mind, a risky and daring plan. It was a plan that would require all of his courage and all of his wit. He knew he would have to face the mighty lion, but the thirst of his friends gave him the strength to try. Zomo took a deep breath to steady his pounding heart. He hopped out from behind the bush and slowly, humbly, approached the great lion. "O mighty King Simba," he began, his voice soft but clear, trying not to show the fear that fluttered inside him like a trapped bird. "Your power is known across all the lands. Your roar is like the thunder, and your claws are sharper than any spear. I have come not to drink, but to ask a question of your great wisdom." Simba stopped his pacing and looked down at the small hare, a flicker of amusement in his eyes. He was not used to being approached with such bold flattery. "Speak, little hare," the lion rumbled, his voice deep and gravelly. "But be quick, my patience is as short as your tail." Zomo bowed his head low, a sign of deep respect. "Great king," he said, "I have heard the other animals whisper. They say you are the strongest animal in all of Africa. They say you are the bravest. But I have heard a rumor, a silly rumor of course, that there is one thing, just one tiny thing, that you are afraid of." The lion's eyes narrowed, and a low growl started in his chest. The air grew thick with tension. Simba let out a short, sharp roar that sent a shiver down Zomo's spine. "Afraid? Me? The king of the savannah? That is a foolish lie," he bellowed, his pride deeply wounded by the suggestion. "There is nothing in this world that I fear. Tell me who spread such nonsense, and I will teach them a lesson they will never forget." Zomo pretended to tremble, his long ears drooping. "Oh no, great king, I could not say. It is just a silly whisper. But if you truly fear nothing, perhaps you can prove it. Perhaps you can tell me your deepest, most secret weakness." The challenge hung in the air, shimmering in the heat. It was a brilliant and dangerous trap. The lion was caught between his pride and his caution. To refuse would be to admit he had something to hide, a secret fear. To accept would be to share his one vulnerability with this clever little hare. Simba stared at Zomo, his golden eyes searching the hare's face. He saw no trickery, only what looked like innocent curiosity. His pride was a powerful force, and it pushed him to accept the dare. "Very well, little one," he growled. "I will prove it. I will tell you my secret." King Simba leaned down, his huge head close to Zomo's twitching ears. The other animals, watching from a safe distance, held their breath. They could not believe what they were seeing. The great lion, the fearsome king, was about to share a secret with the small hare. Simba's voice was a low rumble, a whisper meant only for Zomo. "My secret," the lion confessed, his voice heavy with shame, "is not a creature or a hunter. It is a sound. I cannot stand the sound of a drum beating, boom-ba-doom, boom-ba-doom. It fills my head with noise and terror. It makes my royal heart feel weak." Zomo's mind raced as he listened. A drum! The king was afraid of a simple drum. He bowed his head again, pretending to be filled with awe at the king's trust. "Thank you, O great and mighty king," Zomo said respectfully. "You have proven your courage by sharing such a deep secret. The rumors were indeed false. You are the bravest of all." The lion puffed out his chest, his pride restored. He felt very powerful for having faced the challenge. He completely forgot about his hunger and his anger, and he turned his back on the waterhole to strut proudly back toward his shady den under the rocks. As soon as the lion was out of sight, Zomo sprang into action. He did not run to the waterhole to drink. Instead, he raced through the savannah, his feet barely touching the dusty ground. He went to the warthogs and whispered the secret. He scurried to the zebras and told them the news. He hopped over to the gazelles and shared the amazing truth. Soon, every animal knew the lion's secret. A quiet excitement buzzed through the air, replacing the heavy feeling of fear. They gathered together, not as victims, but as a community with a shared purpose and a clever plan. They found a large, hollow log that had fallen near the river. The monkeys, with their nimble fingers, stretched a piece of old antelope hide tightly over the top. The elephants used their strong trunks to hold it steady. The warthogs found sturdy branches for drumsticks. They had created a giant drum. Zomo stood before them, his small body filled with a big courage. "When I give the signal," he said, his voice ringing with confidence, "you must all play the drum and sing as loud as you can. Do not be afraid. Today, we drink together." From his den, King Simba heard a faint noise. Boom, ba-doom. It grew louder. Boom, ba-doom, boom, ba-doom, the terrible sound, his secret fear. His heart began to pound in his chest, not with power, but with sheer terror. He flattened his ears and squeezed his eyes shut, but he could not block out the noise. It was everywhere, echoing off the rocks, shaking the ground. Then came the singing. The voices of all the animals joined together in a powerful chorus. It was a song of freedom and water, and it was louder than any roar he had ever made. The king trembled in his den, feeling smaller than he ever had before. Suddenly, the drumming stopped. The singing faded. Silence returned to the savannah, but it was a different kind of silence. It was not filled with fear, but with anticipation. Zomo the hare appeared at the entrance to the lion's den. He was not alone. Behind him stood the zebra, the warthog, the gazelle, and all the others. They were quiet and calm. Simba looked at them, his golden eyes wide with confusion and shame. He expected them to mock him, to laugh at his weakness. He was the king, yet he had hidden like a frightened cub. But they did not laugh. Zomo stepped forward. "Great king," he said softly, "we did not bring the drum to scare you forever. We brought it to teach you." The lion looked up, surprised. "Teach me," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "Yes," Zomo continued. "A king's strength is not in his roar or his claws. A king's true strength is in his kindness. It is in sharing the waterhole. It is in caring for all your subjects, from the largest elephant to the smallest hare." The other animals nodded in agreement, their eyes full of hope, not anger. The lion looked at the faces of the animals gathered before him. He saw no hate, only a desire for fairness. In that moment, Simba understood. He had been a ruler, but he had not been a true king. He slowly rose to his feet, not with a roar of pride, but with a quiet dignity. He walked past the animals and went to the waterhole, and he waited. He made sure every single animal, from the thirstiest elephant to the smallest mouse, had drunk their fill before he took a single sip himself. From that day on, he ruled with a new kind of strength, the strength of a wise and compassionate heart. The moral of the story is this: True strength is not about power over others, but about kindness and sharing with them.